Dallas police say they solved a decades-old missing persons case, giving a family answers they have waited 50 years to get.
In January of 1973, 16-year-old Norman Prater left home in Dallas and never returned. What followed was not just a missing persons case, but decades of uncertainty, false hope, and unanswered prayers. And for years, the case sat quietly in the archives of the Dallas Police Department, thick with paperwork, thin on leads, until now. In early 2025, investigators finally made a connection that no one saw coming, a link between a teenage disappearance in Dallas and an unidentified body found hundreds of miles away along the Texas coast. It was a breakthrough that came 52 years too late, yet still brought something powerful: the truth. This is the story of how one small piece of forgotten evidence reopened one of the oldest missing persons cases in Dallas history, and how a family finally got the call they had been waiting for since 1973. A teenager vanishes. On January 14th, 1973, Norman Prater was reported missing by his family. He was just 16 years old, a teenager like many others in Dallas at the time, balancing school, friendships, and the restless desire to explore life beyond his neighborhood. That day, Norman had been seen walking and talking with friends. Nothing about the afternoon suggested it would be the last time his family ever saw him. There was no known argument, no note, no warning signs that pointed to a permanent goodbye. But Norman never made it home. At first, his disappearance was treated like many others. Family members hoped he might return on his own. Police canvassed the area, spoke with friends, and documented the case. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Still nothing. As time passed, the urgency faded. Leads dried up. And slowly, the case slipped into the growing category of long-term missing persons files. Unresolved, unanswered, and deeply painful for the people left behind. A body found on the coast. 6 months after Norman disappeared, in July of 1973, authorities in Aransas County responded to a grim discovery. Along a roadway near Rockport, not far from Corpus Christi, an unidentified white male was found deceased. The individual appeared to have been the victim of a hit and run. Despite an investigation by local authorities, the young man could not be identified. No name, no family, no missing persons match. The body was buried as a John Doe. And just like that, 2 tragedies, a missing teenager in Dallas and an unidentified victim on the Texas coast, became frozen in time, unaware they were connected by the same life. Decades of silence. For more than 50 years, Norman Prater's family lived without answers. His older brother, Isaac Prater, grew older, carrying the weight of not knowing what happened to the sibling he once grew up with. The case file remained thick, one of the largest missing persons investigations in the history of the Dallas Police Department, but progress never came. Technology advanced. DNA databases expanded. Cold cases across the country were reopened and solved. But Norman's case stayed quiet until one small discovery changed everything. A forgotten photograph. In late 2024, the Aransas County Medical Examiner's Office was reviewing old evidence related to unidentified remains. During that review, staff came across a photograph, an image of the unidentified young man found in 1973. That photo was submitted to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And that's when something extraordinary happened. The image triggered a potential match. It resembled a missing teenager from Dallas, Norman Prater. The moment investigators knew, when Dallas detectives received the image, they didn't immediately celebrate. Cold cases teach investigators caution. Hope can be dangerous when certainty isn't there yet. But the resemblance was undeniable. The facial structure, the mouth, a distinct mark on the lip, something family members immediately recognized. One detective later described the moment simply, "In my mind, that was him." There was no DNA on file from 1973. Fingerprint comparisons weren't usable, so investigators sought confirmation through every method available. They brought in the Texas Rangers for a second opinion. The Rangers agreed. Everything pointed to one conclusion. The unidentified victim from Aransas County was Norman Prater. the call the family waited 52 years for. In early 2025, the Dallas Police Department made a phone call decades in the making. Norman Prater's family finally heard the words they had waited a lifetime for. Not the outcome they hoped for, but the truth. His older brother Isaac was shown the photograph and instantly recognized him. He pointed out the lip, the scar, the features that time could not erase. After 52 years of waiting, the case was officially closed. What still remains unsolved? While Norman Prater's identity has finally been confirmed, one painful question still lingers. Who hit him? Investigators believe Norman was likely hitchhiking in the Corpus Christi area when he was struck by a vehicle. The hit-and-run investigation in Aransas County remains unsolved. The person responsible was never identified and may never be. Why this case matters. This story is not just about one teenager. It's about persistence, about families who never stop hoping, about investigators who refuse to give up even decades later. It's a reminder that every missing person matters, no matter how much time has passed. And it proves that sometimes all it takes is one small lead to finally bring the truth to light. Final thoughts. For the Prater family, the pain of losing Norman never disappeared. But now, the silence has been replaced with certainty. After 52 years, they finally know what happened. And Norman Prater, no longer unnamed, no longer forgotten, has his identity back.